They say another way to look at it, or another saying for that, is inspect what you expect.
Absolutely.
That as well, right?
That's a good one.
If you expect this type of an outcome and you delegated a responsibility to somebody, you don't just turn the other cheek and expect it just to be done. You have to inspect it. And
I like that.
And it's the whole same thing. Like, yeah, trust, but also verify.
Real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward.
Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast with myself, Trevor Cowley. Today we have an OG employee, now entrepreneur, business owner. So Andrew Robinson actually used to work for us at Easier Accounting. He actually went to school to get his accounting degree. And now he owns a HVAC company. So that's a story, right? Like, it is. You know, what the hell? So are you an attorney now too? You
I was told I should be, but no. I debate a lot. I argue a lot, so I probably should be.
Who told you that? Your wife?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I think all
wife
wives
and family,
yeah.
you know?
Everybody that is close to you talking shit, you know. But,
so true.
You know, we got to have people to
dude. But no, it was stamina. I mean, I went and got the master's in accounting.
Yeah.
Sat down.
Did you
do state accounting, actually?
But did you, like, were you open-minded to, like, become an accountant, like, as a career? Like, that's something that maybe you wanted to do, and then eventually you were behind a desk and...
Well, even when I worked for Easier, I was... that was late into my bachelor's, so I was already, like, looking into doing accounting.
Yeah.
Late into my bachelor's, Utah Tech offered the master's degree, and so we're like, heck yeah, I might as well do it. It's not online, so face-to-face learning is a lot easier for me. Some people it's not. And so through my bachelor's, I was working with you guys. Stamina, like I'm an outdoor kind of person. I was like, okay, left you guys, went back to the HVAC world. Not for myself, obviously. Put myself through the rest of the way through master's program, got that degree. And I went and sat down and worked at a state tax accounting firm. And I don't know if you remember now, but we came in. I made a connection between you guys.
Yeah, you were
see
doing
if there was any help you guys could do with pipes.
Yeah, you guys were doing like sales tax and stuff like that, and we did not
admittance for every state.
I remember that. Yeah.
Nonetheless, got behind that desk, and you know the pay looked good as salary base, and you're like, oh, that's quite a bit more than I'm making yearly.
Yeah.
Then the hours started adding up, and you're like, oh, that's like $12 an hour. How am I doing?
Throw a big number out. Don't read the small writing.
That's right. Yeah. Well, see, in federal taxes, you got your April and September deadlines. You file your extension, you file in September. State taxes, they like that. There's a lot of them that are monthly. Keep them going.
On the sales tax stuff, they want their money now. Yeah,
we were getting 100, 250 sales tax or tax returns a month, you know, across the states for different companies. Where it was just like 70 and 80-hour weeks were a pretty normal thing. And so just
every month is tax season there.
Exactly,
because every month the business has to remit sales tax.
Yep. And so you can just get a gym membership to cover that thing in the morning. Well, those mornings weren't there anymore because it was 70 and 80 hours. And then those afternoons, I took the work home with me. I had to work. So there was no family lives. It was work. Which, I mean, even in school, they tell you that with the accounting position. Like, for the first little while, you're just going to be putting in hours. You're just going to be putting in time.
So they give you a warning. It comes with a warning label.
For the most part, if you listen.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I mean, I took the audit CPA exam. I didn't pass it. I was close to passing it, and there was a couple things I needed to do. And for me, through the master's, that was the hardest one. Nonetheless, taking that, the stamina thing with the state sales tax and whatnot, it was just like, okay.
Did you get into a dark, like, mental state? Like, man, I just, like, get depressed or get to a low that made you analyze your situation and was like, okay, I've got to do something different?
No, I got my wife pregnant.
Gotcha.
that it wasn't the dark time. It
Well,
was just
congratulations on the sex, bro.
we've
Good
got
job.
we've got some more responsibility coming to.
But you
coming
already
to a
had
head.
the finances to be able to cover that if you were getting paid a decent salary, right?
Hey, yes and no, but I mean the time factor. Like I could analyze it from that point. Like, how much time am I going to be able to spend with the family? How much time am I going to be a dad? Like stuff like that. And so it was just like there was a big weight. Me and the wife sat down and talked about it. It was a few months after she had, she'd found out she was pregnant and whatnot. And I was like, I'm going back to HVAC. Like we're not doing this. Like I'm going to jump back in with Top Gun, who I was working for, get all the tests taken, blah, 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 get the, through the state, get all that.
Yeah, get your licenses.
And just got back into it. And like I opened up with, I knew from being in the industry that accounting and lawyer fees are your most expensive things. And although like we preach, don't do all your work, I was able to take that accounting role for my business to get it, to not have to put that money out in a month to month, which has helped, but now it's getting in my own way. I need to pass that off.
Well, I mean, that's how it works, right? Like, here's the deal. I mean, most new entrepreneurs don't have that skill, and so it's usually a mess, right? At least you had the skill to where you could keep it clean, but eventually,
as clean as
as clean as the amount of time that you've allotted to put into.
Correct.
So when I put time into it, it's clean. And when I don't, it just is. It's there. Yeah.
I look at the pile often, but when I get to the pile, it's clean.
My room's amazingly clean when I clean it.
That's right.
But when I don't,
spot on.
it's dirt.
But I mean, your question of the dark time, that came way before even with the wife. Because I mean, I bounced around. The life story's fun, but the self-improvement thing wasn't back then. That's happened in the last 2.5 years and whatnot. But the dark time came years prior to where I moved back to town knowing what I wanted to do. And that's why I went right into my bachelor's program with the accounting and whatnot, and kind of was like, what's my fallback? Accounting's a great fallback. I've worked in the construction field my entire life with family owning construction businesses and whatnot. So not a jack of all trades, but there was enough to fall back on. And then when the HVAC thing happened, it was like, burn the boats. Like we're done here. Like, like all money. What's my investment? What's in the safe? How much can I throw at this to get this to explode? And
how much did you start your business with?
$10,000.
So $10,000. And the reason why I asked that question is because there's plenty of people that think that they need, 100,000 or 200,000.
Yeah.
Like they're looking at the big picture of where they want their business to be, and they get overwhelmed. So therefore they never start. When in reality, there's so many different businesses. If you have a little bit of skill in an industry, that you could start trading your time and your skill with just a little bit of money. Just get the tools that you need and have $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to get something going. There's so many business owners that I know that started with $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. Like it takes a lot of heart and a lot of hard work. But it doesn't necessarily have to take a shit ton of money. Right?
That's right. When I looked for help, and not your traditional help through like banks and whatnot. Well, I guess it is traditional help because a lot of entrepreneurs do reach out to family, friends, and so on to, hey, this is my idea. You want to help me here? And I did a small reach out to close family and let my uncle and whatnot that I knew had the means to help me.
Yeah.
And both people I contacted were like, yeah, come talk to me. And I slept on it. And I just, no. I think I wanted to know the option was there.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to know I could do it without it.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of people are like, I guess that's not burn the boats because you had a backstop. You had a way out type situation. But then when it came time, I did utilize that for like payroll to utilize capital up and down. And
utilize borrowed money from family for payroll?
Yeah, because it was like, okay, I need to make this legit on payroll side of things because, we started growing so exponentially that it's like, okay, let's make sure everything's legit, everything's moving the right way, to the point where it's like, okay, I can take this $20,000, put it in the bank over here to run payroll, but now my capital on all my equipment, we could have a couple sketchy months here going forward, which it'll all pan out in the end, but this could get a little sketchy for a minute.
Yeah, it can.
And so I reached back out. I was like, hey, this is kind of what I want to do. And I was lucky enough to have that option, and that loan took place, but it was on a 3-month contingent. That's like, hey, boom, I know I can turn this over. I just want to make sure all these processes are in place and legit going forward. Nobody wants to knock on the door from the IRS. So I went ahead and did that, got it paid back, got that all taken care of, interest and everything. And I mean, it was gracious to have that, but the build up to that was like, man, I can do this, but are my bills going to get paid? Like, you know, and I didn't leverage any credit. I didn't want to leverage any credit. I didn't put credit accounts at the supply houses. I wanted to maintain a capital account
straight up.
But it was also building that repertoire credit up to where I could utilize credit when the time came. When I did have to use, like, there comes a time.
Yeah, there's going to be a time in business where you have an opportunity to grow much faster than the capital that you have available to you. And so if you go about creating the right relationships in the process of the build to the point of where you finally hit that scaling, you have the relationships that you now need to lean on in order to support what you're trying to do, right? And so, like, and I don't think this is talked about enough. We probably don't talk about it enough on the podcast in terms of just being an individual of character and integrity, because I know that in the trade space, I hear it all the time. I mean, we have, and again, I didn't say anything, but, you know, Andrew's a part of the inner circle, the Real Business Owners Inner Circle. There's plenty of people in the trades in the inner circle. And every so often you'll hear, hey, I'm not getting paid. What do I do? Hey, what about a net 30 or a net 60 or that? Like, how do I go about collecting money that's owed to me, right? And so it's like, dude, when you have integrity and you have character, it goes a long way in an industry where people have, if you've played in it long enough, have got screwed. It's not if you get screwed, it's when you get screwed. That's the nature of business. And that's not even in the trades. That's just in any industry, right? Agreed. Like whether it's through an employee, whether it's through a vendor, whether it's somebody that's an affiliate, like a business partner, it doesn't matter. Hell's coming, right?
Yeah.
And you better keep your head on a swivel and prepare for all those scenarios. What's the best way to prepare for those scenarios? Be a good human being and do what's right. And guess what? Sometimes you're going to have to take it on the chin and just keep moving forward. And that's part of just being a good person, because you could go play that game and go get dirty, but when you wrestle with a pig, you're going to get muddy. You bet. Right. And so, like, you know, and I'm not saying if somebody wrongs you to just, you know, turn the other cheek. Like, it just depends. Like, is going down to that frequency and fighting that fight worth $500? Right. Where's a 5,000? Where's a 50,000? Right. Like, you kind of have to have your mark to where your value of time and your mental energy, like, you've got to bring all that into the equation. What's your stress worth to you versus your peace? Right.
There's a lot of conversations in the trades too with like legal matters is, are you doing this for principle or are you trying to get money back? Because if you're trying to get money back, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
You're going to be out of pocket to go do whatever it is you're trying to rectify for that $2,000 that wasn't paid on that, even $20,000.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily going to ever get that $20,000 back. So are you doing this on a principle basis to make sure they get punished?
To prove a point.
Or, because if that's the case, cool, let's write the checks.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking you're going to get money back on this, like you said, don't turn the other cheek, but sometimes
know what your options are, and sometimes you have to walk away.
That's right. What is
not
that balance?
Every battle is worth fighting.
100%.
You have to analyze the entire situation as a whole. Remove your emotion, because your emotion is going to say, go fight the fight. Right? I've talked to an attorney before, and he said more money is lost by the fact that, hey, that's just not right. That, you know, I want to prove a point. The principle of it, like, and so because somebody wronged them and it's not right to do, they go lawyer up and they spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in lawyer fees to fight something that ends up being a dead end, or a lien against somebody that will probably never get paid, right? But it feels good that you won. So if, you know, spending 10, 20 or 30 grand is worth the feel good of proving your point and you've got the cash, have fun with it. This is what rich people do, by the way.
Straight up.
Like, rich people do this shit.
They get bored, and that's what they do.
They're like, hey, who wants to fight?
That's right.
Let's lawyer up. And then they have, this is the big boy game of
100%.
let's see who's got the deeper pockets. Like people will legitimately start suing and this, that, the other to try to break a small company
100%.
just in lawyer fees
Oh, yeah.
so that they can remove the competition.
Yep.
Right. And so
drain the
like
company.
to drain the company. If I'm worth $1 billion and I know you're coming into my industry and you're only worth 50 million, I might want to drag you into court where you spend tens of millions in legal fees
I got 50 million
and to break
on
you.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will break you off and just
So
create
true.
struggle for you to the point where I hope you quit and give up, where you go broke.
That's
right?
so
Like
true.
there's those games exist at a whole different level. The question is chasing $5,000, $10,000. Look, we even had an employee work for us that said they were wrongly terminated and they tried to go to the state, but it was outside of the time frame. But the state was like 90 days, but federally they could go after us for 6 months.
Yeah.
And so then they went after us federally, and we sat down with a federal mediator. And I was like, well, have you seen doctors' stuff, like saying that this is like a real thing? Because we haven't. And we asked the person to show up on time, this, that, the other, right? And I even said, like, I don't even care if you show up at 9. Just tell me what time you'll be here every day so that there's a proper expectation set.
Yeah.
So that people don't ask where you're at, right? And saying, well, I don't know if they'll be in today or if they won't be in today. I don't know what's going.
Meeting.
How? Like, let's create. It's from 11 to 4, and then it's a well-known thing that nobody comes looking for you except between 11 and 4.
Outside of those hours.
And me and Kel and our partner, like, we were being very generous about it because the individual did bring value over the course of years. Anyways, that never happened, as we discussed, saying just give us time. Well, some days I feel good, some days I don't, whatever. So the mediator, I say, have you seen anything like a doctor's note saying that they can't work? No. And I said, well, neither have we. And I said, what type of agencies are out there to protect business owners? Because there's consumer protections, there's employee there's this, there's workman's comp, like there's all of these things to protect employees. And she goes, I know. She goes, I'm not here to fight that fight with you or argue with you on that. I'm sorry. And I said, like, it's not right. They wanted $100,000 is what they wanted. And I said, fuck that.
Yeah.
Let's go to battle. That's a battle that's worth fighting,
100%.
right? Because that one is principle and obviously there's enough money to fight the fight. Anyways, after mediation, we go out of the room, they go in the room, we go out, whatever we're talking. We didn't come to a number, right? But she flat out said, I'll tell you this much right now. This person has maybe a 1% chance of winning this based upon what I see. The problem is, by the time that you fight this, you're going to probably spend $20,000 to $30,000 just fighting it. Mm-hmm. So we eventually settled for $10,000 because it would cost us $20,000 to $30,000 to fight it.
Yeah.
Right. And what that made me realize is there's politicians or this or famous people that pay people off on the side or whatever and like give them $100,000 or whatever it is.
Oh,
and it made me think, I'm like, well, maybe all of them aren't guilty.
Right.
Maybe the fact that they would have to go in and out of court, the
100%.
stress level, the money that they would have to spend to prove that they're innocent ends up just being too much stress, too much headache. I don't want to be in the news. I don't want to spend the money. Here's $100,000 and just get out of my life, right?
The good old opportunity cost.
That's what it comes down to, right? And so it's like, again, if it was stuck at $100,000, we would have fought the fight. The fact that it came in under, I think we ended up, it was like 10 or 12 or something like that. And it was like, okay, let's get rid of it.
Half of what it's going to cost to fight it.
Yeah. And so like,
Makes sense.
it's just shitty that business owners get put in this situation. Yeah. And I guess let's create a lesson out of that story, right? The lesson is to document everything.
Oh man.
Properly. And because it's like, you love your employees and they do show up and, you care for them so much and you trust them so much. But like, if they're starting to falter and you have conversations with them, the problem was we weren't really documenting these conversations that we were having, right? We weren't, because we could have had 10 things. And that's what they like, hey, do you have documentation of all the conversations where they signed and acknowledged that
Even if it's through email,
there
so
was
it's-
warnings
yeah.
and stuff like that or whatever. And I was just like, no, it's just, and so like, no matter what's going on, understand that if somebody's being reprimanded or talked to with inside of your organization, you should document that in one way, shape, or another, and make sure that they sign something acknowledging the fact that you did have that conversation. Now, we started to implement that right after. You know what I mean? Like a 3-strike policy. Hey, here's a write-up. Like, you're showing up late every single day. We need you to be on time. You're acknowledging here that this is just a warning, but that you've been late 4 times this week and you're not going to do it. Here, sign it, right? Like,
and it's a paper trail on both sides. It's his or hers documentation as well as yours. Like, no, they didn't do this. No, we did, and you signed it.
Yeah.
Like,
no. And so then it's impossible to play the he said, she said, or she said, he said, whatever, right? That whole game.
I had a professor that in my master's program, well, actually, he's in my bachelor's. It stuck with me. It'll always stick with me. And his famous words were trust but verify. He goes, you can hear all day long, things can be said all day long, but unless you verify it through evidence, whether that be a picture, whether that be written, something, there needs to be some verification. Go look it up. Go do your own research. It is what his pretense was for like his tax law and stuff like that. But I use it in everyday life. Like, any conversation I have that it just makes you critically think about it, you're like, go look at it, verify it. Like, that sounds good on paper.
Yeah.
And I've learned that with architects and engineers and stuff. It's like, you're right, that looks great on paper, but that doesn't work in the real world. So let's verify that it's going to work. That sounds great. Let's verify.
Well, they say another way to look at it, or another saying for that, is inspect what you expect.
Absolutely.
That as well, right?
That's a good one.
If you expect this type of an outcome and you delegated a responsibility to somebody, you don't just turn the other cheek and expect it just to be done. You have to inspect it. And
I like that.
And it's the whole same thing. Like, trust, but also verify. It's the same type of a concept coming from 2 different angles, but it hits the exact same target, right?
I like that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I mean, you've been doing the HVAC thing for, was it 3 years now?
Yeah. My own company's May is 3 years.
Okay.
So
that's a fun experience.
Oh yeah, it's good times.
What was like some of the hardest times in that first 2 or 3 years? Because there's the podcast, bro. There's plenty of newer business owners, and the idea is really to shine light on, hey, you're not really going through anything that's unique or different than what other people experience.
No, absolutely.
I know that when you're going through it, it feels unique and different, and that emotion, because you're actually feeling it, feels personal to you. And it hurts, it's painful, there's struggles, you second guess yourself, and you look at other people and label them as like, oh, they're just different, or they're smarter than me, or whatever it is, when in reality, they also went through exactly what you're going through and looked at somebody else and said, oh man, the difference is they just didn't quit. They continue to show up each day. And the funny thing is, when you do that, time takes care of the rest,
So the hardest part, literally through the whole 3 years, I've got one guy. He's my right hand man. The dude takes care of. I call him Logan. Make it work. That's his middle name now, because
he makes it happen.
Dude, we got this. Make it work, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and me and him have that same mentality. We don't MacGyver things if we don't have to, but sometimes MacGyver's got to come out to make things work. Nonetheless,
for the young ears, MacGyver was a badass.
Yeah. Yes.
Google MacGyver.
That's true. And so I stacked work up and looked for help outside of him. We've had a couple other employees that they just don't work out. And so a lot of the main struggle, and we hear this a lot right now anyways in all trades, is help. Like 2022 started roughly slow because we just got the business off and going prior to that May earlier that year. And so it was difficult getting things going, but I mean, just showing up, making those phone calls, contacting contractors and whatnot, that's just an ongoing process that you got to do. And so once that work started coming to fruition and we were starting to get it out there, we had the capital started to build up. So that wasn't the issue. It was finding people to help. And much like a lot of new businesses, reached out to friends, hey, can you come help me under the table cash? Like, I just need to get this done.
Yeah.
To where it still didn't pan out to have the help we needed. And even still today,
we're stitching it together.
It was me and him. If we didn't get any other help, we're working 10, 12-hour days. And much like I told you about the accounting thing, it was like,
I'm leaving that industry so I don't have to work 80 hours a week. So I'm going to go start my own business instead. Smart.
Here we are. And so that's been the biggest battle. But I mean, it comes with any territory, any business, and I mean, COVID or not, I saw a big downturn in quality of product too. So I know that it wasn't just my job site. I know that it was trades. I know that it was production. I know that it was, everywhere. And so that's still an ongoing battle we're having is getting that good help, getting the people that want to work is the honest thing of it. And so that we adjusted it and we're like, okay, let's make sure we're scheduling it out because I mean, just like me leaving the accounting world, nobody wants to sit and work 12-hour days for 4 years on end with no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And so I didn't necessarily scale back, but we adjusted work with the contractors, but we had been there long enough that they understood our work, spoke for itself.
Yeah.
And they were willing to give us those extra 1 week, that extra 2 weeks because we just needed to schedule that out. And if they wanted work to continue, this wasn't a conversation with them, but they needed to understand like, hey, we need to push this off a little bit so that my guy wants to keep showing up to work. Like,
yeah. We can go hard for a year and burn him out, and he says, "Screw this."
Then I'm literally up shit streak without a paddle because all this work's still on the table, and I've got to perform nonetheless. I burnt the boats. I'm here with the repertoire. If I don't perform, reputation's gone.
Yeah,
might as well start a new business.
Go back into accounting.
Let's start over.
Yeah,
and nobody wants to do that. So really, it's just the manpower. We live in a bubble here in Southern Utah. Work is in so much abundance here that if you're willing to just get out in the car and go make some drives, get some phone numbers and make a call a day, make a call a week, you're busy.
Yeah.
You can keep busy.
Yeah.
So it's not really getting the work as long as you put in a little bit of footwork, but that's in sales as well. Like if you're not picking the phone up, you're not making sales. I don't care what the chat AI system is on your website. That one-on-one makes a deal.
It's lines in the water.
So
you can have one line in the water and catch one, or you can have 10.
It's true.
And you have 10 more opportunities than somebody else, right?
And it came down to this year, like, well, let's keep looking for somebody. And it got to the point last year where it's like, and I know you've had this battle is training somebody is so much time that we're getting backed up because we're trying to train.
Yeah.
And so the big shift has been, and the struggle and the advice I could give to anybody and everybody, and I wish I would have done it before, is SOPs, like standard operating procedure. Doesn't matter what your business is. If you don't want to sit down and train every individual that walks in your door, you need to have some bottom line stuff.
Yeah.
But there's still going to be questions. There's still going to be little quirks you got to teach.
Yeah.
But get the majority of the headache off the table.
The stuff that's the same every single time.
Mundane, like
the normal, like whether it's videos on Loom with some checklist. Hey, did you look at this? Did you look at this? Did you look at this? Prior to picking up the phone and calling me and saying, hey, I can't figure out what's wrong with this unit. Like,
it's unbelievable. And I mean, we've been beating the dead horse lately in the calls and whatnot. And it's been, I know I'm not the only one that's like, okay, I got to get those done.
Yeah, they're talking to me right now.
On the accountability thing, that's what my thing is this month for our new accountability group, is, hey, SOPs on the live document. I've gone through and had my guys start taking pictures, videoing, putting ductwork together, some of the processes, nonetheless. To where my point of it this time is take those pictures, take those videos, get it on a live document, get it over to him, to have him revise it and be like, yep, nope, that's exactly the process for me too. And it's simply that me and him inside the one company are on the same page.
Yeah.
He's going to have faster ways. I'm going to have faster ways. Let's collaborate. Let's make it the fastest way. And that's not to say that somebody that does come in, goes through our SOPs, learns our way, doesn't also have a faster way. And so,
I mean, that's
documentation. We're right back to documentation.
I mean, that's the thing is, it's a living thing inside of your company that always requires a little bit of attention,
it's
right?
Revolving.
It's if you have a CRM, if you ever built a CRM, it's like, oh yeah, let's build a CRM to save money, but then you end up having to have a programmer on staff because there's always tweaks, ideas, adjustments, this, that, and SOPs. Look, the speed of business, the speed of the world right now is adjusting and evolving so quickly that an SOP that you create today won't look the same a year from. You might be using completely different software for your billing, for your
100%.
invoicing, for your quoting, for your, payroll, like everything could be different.
And so that procedure's completely changed 12 months from now.
But at the end of the day, you're doing it anyways, right? If you're doing it anyways, maybe document what you're doing.
Well, if you want to step away, if you want to delegate those tasks out, you're never going to delegate them out entirely if you don't have these things in place that they revert to before you are the phone call.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be 5 phone calls and 1 phone call, get the other 4 things out on the table that they understand.
Yeah. Hey, this is going on. Check this. Watch
This
the
is what
videos.
happens if this happens.
Let's diagnose. Blah 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 blah.
Man.
And then all of a sudden, that worked. Saved a phone call.
Yeah.
You're saving you time and another person's time. That's 2 people not having to be on a call that's distracted. Now work's getting done in a quicker time frame on both sides, right?
When I noticed my value was talking to those contractors because I'm knowledgeable about what I do, so I can have the conversation, and it's the nerd talk like Corey has with marketing guys. It's like, what
we're
are
all
you
sitting on
about?
this and backlink, and I'm like,
But a tradesman and a general are going to have that same conversation where the homeowner's sitting there like,
the hell?
well, at least they're comfortable about the conversation. But that's where my value is, because I've been in construction, as growing up with the family in construction and all that it's like, me and you can have a conversation. I can come and sit down in your office and go through these plans start to finish. I can tell you about framing to this, but it's just because of that. And they respect that and they like it. I show up.
Yeah.
I'm a tradesman that shows up and has a one-on-one conversation, not like, hey, I'll be there next week. And in 3 weeks I show up.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not those little things that a lot of people complain that are the hard things. It's in the trades. For me, it's not hard.
Yeah.
There's large competition here in town because of the bubble I'd mentioned. There's tons of HVAC companies, and there's the good old boy HVAC companies that have the ability to come in and undercut your pricing and take your jobs from you because they have pricing, better pricing on equipment. They don't pay their guys worth jack.
Yeah, I mean, if they have been around a long time and they do a lot of business, they get discounts on bulk, right?
Oh man, and they just stock it.
Yeah.
And so the equipment you're spending, throw an example out, $5,000 in equipment, they're paying $32,000.
Yeah.
Well, that $1,800 profit, they can literally undercut you. That's what you're taking home out of this thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, on to the next one.
But they also want somebody to show up. They want, the person that's not hardly paying somebody anything, that's a big company.
They stop showing up. Their
employees, just as we talked about, their help isn't really helping. Sometimes they call in sick, or that now jobs are getting pushed back. I would say it's this. It really comes down to communication.
100%.
I would say 95% of business and being successful in business is good expectations and communication.
Answering the phone or making the contact back.
Correct. So, creating good expectations takes what? Communication, right? So it really still defaults down to 95% of your fulfillment, your job is to communicate effectively and efficiently, and then you just do the thing that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
If you get paid to put in a unit, they expect the unit. But if you actually communicate on top of that, then they're like, oh man, holy cow, I finally found somebody that shows up at 9:30 when they say they're going to show up at 9:30. Yeah. I know that we called you for our unit here, and he was like, hey man, I'll be there tomorrow. Yeah. And you disappeared in the ceiling and, and handled business. And so I know that we appreciated it. I know Nick over here behind the camera, he was over there freezing his ass off or whatever. It's like, so
and
I know he appreciated
knew all about it. It's squirrel cage in it. So.
Oh yeah. I still don't know. See,
that's what it's called. That's the funny thing is it's called that. And it's just like,
tell me what's the squirrel cage. I'm like, Corey's fucking with me right now. I'm like, he's going to make me look to Andrew, squirrel cage. And they start like, oh yeah.
And it's, everything's got funny terms for it though.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate that. It's, we've prided ourselves on that. And I actually stay away from like your cookie cutter homes, your builders in town that are so stuck on them.
Yeah.
Because much like a county, I don't want to do the same thing every freaking day. And yes, I'm doing HVAC every day, but problems arise with the flat roof houses in Cayenne to to the super peaked houses in Little Valley that have got the 12-4 pitches on going on. That there's such a different animal each and every time that, where's your furnace going to go? Do we have a mechanical closet? Blah, blah, blah. To where those cookie cutters are like, do. Yeah. And also, I need you out of here last week. And it's like, dude, like,
fun.
Nobody likes doing that.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, maybe some people do, but that's not what me and
the owner that's not doing it anymore loves it because it's like, hey, go do that and let's bring in the money, right? Be very repetitive.
And I know a couple guys in the HVAC world now that have changed multiple companies for that reason. They get bored.
Yeah.
And that's a real thing, especially in today's, hyper attention
disorder, destructive.
You can make a 20-year-old bored in a hurry.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's taking on these custom homes and being inside the commercial space, doing the TIs and whatnot it keeps it interesting.
Yeah,
it keeps it fun, but it also comes with its own quirks. Like it takes longer. They are busting those little homes out quick as could be. They're getting pay on those. We talked about the 30, 90, and 45 and all that. Their pay's a little bit strung out because of how fast they're going things. My pay's faster on custom homes, but I see custom homes always happening to where those cookie cutters, when economy drops out, whatever, they stop those.
Yeah.
Where custom homes are people that they're moving in here, they have money, they're willing to just keep building their custom home. And so it's helped me on that side of things too, to where it's like I'm doing something different every day. My employee loves coming to work because Logan make it work. He likes making it work. He likes figuring these new weird quirks out.
Yeah.
To where it's made a big benefit here in St. George, being in the bubble we are, that it just keeps growing. It just keeps growing. But we're having issues with those other contractors that they expect so much, and then you're 45, you're 90 days out. You get these young companies, they can't do anything about that.
Well, dude, I know one, right? I just recently loaned somebody $20,000 because they needed to float because of the whole, okay, this is a bigger commercial job or this, but they're saying they wanted 60 day instead of 30 day because it was bigger and the job takes longer to do because it's a bigger job. So they're having to float things for a little bit longer. And it was like, yo, man, can you hook me up with 20 and I'll pay you back 25,000 in 60 days? I'm like, you good? And he's like, yeah, I'm good for it. I'm like, okay, money sent, So, and that was just like 2 or 3 weeks ago, right?
There's some large companies that are good old boys in town that tried to jump in at these big contractors coming into town, the largest United States, other DR Horton, these other big ones, that they wanted to jump in there because they saw Long Valley there's 4,000 units here. This is work for 10 years.
Yeah.
That they're that type of pay schedule, which a lot of those big corporations are. And they got themselves into some trouble. And it's just like they made it through and they figured it themselves out. But it's just like they wanted that so bad that it's like.
Yeah, you got to be careful. I would say that's a lesson right there, that if you're new in business, hell, even new in the trades or new in any industry that is like a net 30 or a net 60, don't get so eager to get business that you end up just bidding yourself so low that you shoot yourself in the foot and you're really not making money, but you feel good about it because you're getting business. And that's also something that I see with newer people in the trades, is that they're like, okay, they're scared, they're nervous, competing against people that's been doing it forever, and they don't really understand numbers and everything that comes along with business. And so they're like, oh, I could do it at this. I can undercut them. And then what you're really doing is undercutting yourself. And next thing you know, you're staying busy, but you're also broke.
Well, when they don't understand their overhead because they're 1 or 2 man show and they're doing it out of their home office and they don't have a storage facility and they don't have all these overhead costs that they have to have.
Yeah.
They can do it for that price and they bring home enough to pay their bills that month.
Yeah.
They don't understand that the reason that those other companies are up here is because they have an office. They've got staff. They've got cars.
Why are they so expensive?
Do you want those things?
Because
that's why we got to get there.
Yeah. You have to charge where you're going, right? Not where you are. Because if you charge for where you're at right now, you're going to stay where you're at and you just created a ceiling for yourself. And sometimes when you start charging for where you're going, it's scary and you feel like you're going to lose out on business. I can't afford that, whatever. All of these things will go through your mind. But at the end of the day, you have to eventually make that step, right? And so, there was somebody, I think, in the free group that was like, he made a post in there. I was like, hey, I charge 30% less than my competition for merch and, hats and shirts and this, that, the other, or whatever. And, I'm being told that I'm not charging enough. Like, are these people just hating on me or whatever? I'm like, dude, I commented and I said, they might be looking out for you, bro.
Right.
Like, if you're literally printing shirts and hats out of your garage, I said, what happens when you have to hire an accountant? I said, what happens when you have to have an office? What happens when you have to have an employee doing it and you have to match their taxes? What happens when you actually have to market and advertise and it's not just your friends and family that want a shirt printed?
Do you want to answer the phone every day, or do you want to hire a secretary? Like
all of these things have to happen.
100%.
And my wife had a balloon business, like where she would do big balloon arches and stuff like that with her and her sister. I said the same thing. I said, you're charging too low. I said, you're charging it where you and your sister can make money. But the problem is eventually you're going to want to pay somebody to do what it is that you're doing. And how much is left over if you pay somebody to do what you're doing? Yep. And I'm like, you're going to be making like $3 an hour. And then by the time that you have to actually do your account and this, that, I'm like, there's so many just unforeseen things that new entrepreneurs aren't really focused on. So they're just like, dude, I can make a quick $500 or this, and cool, get started that way. Pad your bank account, but eventually you have to treat it like a real business, and real businesses have to charge real prices, and you're not going to be able to provide quality work forever being the cheapest guy in the entire world.
Well, and I think it was you guys that had talked about it on one of the podcasts. There's a lot of people that they go get 3 bids, and immediately that lowest one is thrown in the trash. They don't want the cheapest one.
Yeah.
Now, they're probably not going to choose the highest one.
Yeah.
But they're going to be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's because, what is that lowest bid getting you? People aren't showing up half the time when it's the lowest bid. Their quality of work is shot.
You're scared.
And the person supplying the equipment, they're on such a tight budget that what are you getting?
Yeah. They're scared that if they choose the cheapest, that something might go wrong. Again, 10 chicken nuggets for $1. I'll pass, homie.
Probably not chicken.
It's probably not chicken. I don't know what type of purple, green, pink slime that is
crickets or whatever it is now.
Yeah, that's getting dropped in the deep fryer. And then they flavor it like it's just like scented shit. Oh, this
chicken
smells
bouillon
like this. Let's scent it and flavor it like chicken, but it's not really chicken. Again, I would rather pay $4 or $5 for 10 chicken, because to me it feels like I'm actually paying for
100%
real meat, and so it gets to a point where you're at the upper echelon where you're super white glove service. Cool. Guess what? There's super high end cars, and all of those people that are doing Lamborghini, Ferraris, Bugatti, they're still in business and they're still making money. You have to understand the avatar that you're trying to serve. Are you trying to serve the upper high end or the custom homes? Or are you kind of the middle ground to where you can make enough money and still be able to scale and grow when you need to and hire? Or are you going to just be the cheapest because you don't really have overhead and you're the solopreneur, or you only have one person helping and you're paying them on the side, not necessarily through payroll? Like, these are all things that you really have to think about, but eventually you have to start charging for the bracket that you want to be in.
Yep.
So, and you have to do that prior to being there.
Yeah.
So that eventually when you are there and you're making the money, you can have enough money to put away so that you can start hiring an accountant. You can start having company vehicles, that you can start marketing and advertising, hiring help.
Step away.
How can you have all of those things when you're the cheapest?
Yep.
There's nothing left over after you cover your basic lifestyle.
Well, and in order to cover your basic lifestyle, you have to be the employee. You have to be the one getting that little bit off the top that's coming at that
dealing
point.
with it all, wearing 30 different hats.
And I mean, if that's what you want to do, it's hard.
Yeah, so. More power to you. We'll pray for you, but it's God.
I mean,
bless.
me and one of the, I think he's one of the inner circle members, but he's another HVAC guy from up north.
Carter.
I think it was Carter. We're chatting. I don't know, like last week or whatnot. We jumped on a call together, and he was saying that similar thing. When he started, He was just like, it was after hours. And so he's like, a couple extra $100 in my pocket. It wasn't the charge what I'm doing, and I'm doing it for my friends. Well, then the word got out. Well, now I'm the cheapest, and I can't be the cheapest if I want to get here, just like you're saying. And me and him literally sat down and talked about that exact thing. Like, no, you got to bump that up. Like, I know it sounds scary, and I went through it too. Like, I wanted to get those bids, but then when you sat down and you looked at it, as we started this, I'm lucky enough to have that accounting background to where I can break it down and be like, oh, okay, I'm missing out on a bunch of...
Makes sense.
This profit's not here. These margins aren't making sense. Okay, let's readjust that. Like you said, a lot of people don't have that benefit. A lot of people don't necessarily understand that side of things, to where it's like, I didn't account for all of this material I've got to go pick up, and I have $200 of profit. Well, that all costed $150. Now this didn't make sense to do this at all.
Well, they also have the cognitive bias of the fact that they know what they've charged previously. So the only person that's really balking at charging more is yourself.
Yep, 100%.
It's your own mind, right? Because you know, hey, I charged $500 for this when I was doing this kind of on the side after hours, and I had a full-time job, but now I have it as a business. So your mind's like, well, how can I charge $1,500 for this or $1,000 for it? Because I've charged $500 for it before, and you feel like an imposter throwing out a number that's different than the numbers that your mind has evidence that you've thrown out before, right? And so, and again, that's all normal.
It is.
It's part of the struggle. It's part of overcoming the version of you that you are now and growing, right? We haven't even talked about growing or running or self-improvement, but...
I want to touch on the question you asked, because this actually came to mind about the hardest struggle, and I... luckily was disciplined in this fashion to not jump out and do this. But a lot of the issues I see with friends that have been in the trades and whatnot, spending that cash. Buying that truck that they can't afford. Buying those trailers. Instead of taking that money, buying equipment that you know you're going to be putting in these houses, that it's going to turn over next year on that profit, that you can pay cash for that truck. They don't see that. They see, I got that draw check. Well, only this much covers it. The rest of that's mine. No, it's not. Roll that over. So you're not hurting in 2 months to cover the equipment costs on this.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was disciplined enough to see that, but I've also watched a lot of people, not just in HVAC, but we had a huge boom in building. And so you had trades explode, but bunch of new electricians, bunch of new plumbers, blah, 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 that you watched them 3 months into their new company buy that brand new truck. And then where they at? And it's like,
so you brought up a good point. And so it's like, we said you have to start charging for where you're going. And it made me think of this. You have to start also saving for where you're going.
Huge.
Right? So yes, charge for where you're headed, but also save for where you're headed.
It was you guys or a solid podcast, Jeff and Brandon or whatnot, that said 3 months. Like, and that is the minimum. Like, you should have 6 months of savings, and not personal savings. Like, your business should be able to operate for 6 months without revenue. Now, should you have 6 months without revenue? No. But you should have that backstop. You should have that contingency that you can still continue to grow. And that's the floating thing and this, that, and the other. But if you build yourself up to that, you just put yourself in a position, like you're saying, to save. You're going to need it. It's not if, it's when.
It's
going to happen.
It is when.
Economies
We're riding a roller coaster. It's called entrepreneurship.
And entrepreneurship. It's all about. So no, I agree, man. Saving is such a big, big thing.
Yeah. That's one thing that, we've done very well, right? Yes. We've saved lots of money and we've self-funded everything, right? We've been able to hire the next person up when we needed to, when it's a $200,000 salary to help us grow and get where we need to go, right? Hiring for where we're going, spending for where we're going. We saved way prior to that for where we knew we wanted to be, right? Let's talk about, your self-improvement journey. I know that you're, a runner as well, and you've given me a run for my money, forcing me to keep my miles up.
Your 2-a-days is what's got me bumping each month an extra mile. So
what are you up to per day now?
8
a day.
A little over 8. March will go to 9. The goal is monthly to be hitting at least 100-mile week a month. That goal is 2025's goal.
What
is
100 a week?
100-mile week each month, at least 100-mile week each month.
So that's for next year?
Yeah, but I'll still be hitting like my 70 and 80-mile weeks, but there'll be one each week that's like, okay, you have to hit that 100 at least once a month. But that is because, you didn't have me do, your birthday miles put a little knife in the kidney on me, and I was like, all right, I can do that. I can do that. Yeah. And so this last year, 37, I did it, and that's probably the hardest thing I've done today. That ain't easy. I mean, I don't care who you are.
Ain't easy.
And I mean, I think the hardest part is there's no timeline on it other than be inside that day. To where 9.5 hours putting in 37 miles, that's a long day. And that's brutal. A lot of miles.
It's brutal.
So running the marathon later on that year was way shorter time. Didn't hit my goal. Nonetheless, it was a totally different aspect.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, I reached out to you and I was like, dude, I need more miles. Like that marathon wasn't enough, which is weird. I started running in 2021. Like what are you talking about? But nonetheless, this year's is all last man standing race in December. I did it last year. I had some issues with the hip go on it at lap 3. So I was 4.5 hours in, 18 miles in, and I called it. As a little pussy I am, but pissed me off. Nonetheless, it's
a good experience.
Yeah,
still.
I've got a vendetta, and I knew. Yeah, me and the wife went into it
chip
saying,
on your shoulder.
What do we got to do for next year? This is kind of a test run, anyways. But I've done way more than 18 miles. Is why the frustrations. Nonetheless, the whole goal this year is to build up to that. I've got a 30K the day before my birthday, which is next weekend. Then a 50-miler with you in July. I'm going to try and hit a 50K as well before that last man standing in December. But at December, last man standing's the shrine or whatnot. Jesse Etzler's big goal that he does each year type deal.
That's a cherry on top of the year,
There's a bunch of in between, some halves and some marathons and the 50-mile and whatnot. But I mean, even last year, that marathon, who would have thought? Brent's 100-miler at freaking
it's insane.
Raccoon,
it's insane. So what has running done for you? Taught you?
Well, I mean, I started doing it because of Atomic Habits, the book. I smoked cigarettes for a little over 20 years.
Yeah.
The kid had the whole mindset, as we talked about earlier, had that whole shift of, oh, you've got more responsibilities. To where it's like, okay, you got to replace a habit with a habit, as Atomic Habits talks about. And same time I was doing 75 hard, and so I had to have an outdoor workout. And so that kind of just, let's go out and walk for 45 minutes. Okay, well, let's try to run. Let's where it just started, I enjoy how I feel. And obviously with 75 hard, you start watching your food, blah, 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 to where you start feeling good. You talked a lot about it. Why stop doing that if you feel good type deal. And so, I mean, ever since that time, I've read 10 pages every single day since November 2021. That'll never change. I'll read every single day, no matter what it takes. It might not be 10 pages, but I will read every single day. Diet, another big one. But the running was, I didn't keep running every day. And I felt
the difference,
the big difference in that. I was still doing those other things as we just talked about, but I was like, okay, I need to start doing it again.
Yeah.
So I went out and started getting a couple miles in. And in the 75 hard, I'd ran a half marathon. I got challenged by a friend, like, hey, I've got
this thing,
extra ticket. You want to come run with me? Blah, blah, blah. So I went and did it. And it just kept going. I was like, how much further can I run? Me and Nick were talking before the start of this morning about that first feeling of 10 miles. Like when you cross that 10-mile line for the first time, it's just like, it was emotional. Like, honestly, it was just like, the emotion that came over me, like I never would have thought even November 2021 that I would be putting down 21 miles, 5 miles, maybe 10 miles, 10 miles. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so the feeling I started getting from it, and then the recognition to my body, like the stamina improvement at 37, which you should be going the other way.
Yeah.
And just these quirky little things that you don't notice until you notice them. And it's like, oh, okay, that and that and that. And it just kept spiraling to where it was like, okay, I enjoy this enough I need to be putting in some miles every day. Obviously 75 hard happens for 75 days. So it wasn't 45-minute walks. It was 30 minutes here and there. And then towards the end of last year, I got just, your two-a-days and everything. I was just like, okay, you really enjoy this. And I actually took the title of runner finally after running for a year and a half. Like, okay, I'm a runner. Like, start paying attention, do the things runners do.
Yeah.
Post your picture. Like,
Yeah. Get your Garmin watch. Click, you know.
But I mean, and people comment about it and whatnot, but the receipts for me. I mean, I can keep the picture in my phone, or I could share it. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what they think about it or not.
You're doing it based upon how you feel and what it does for your mental health. And I've told people before, I said, the reason why I do two-a-days, and I enjoy lifting and running, I said they serve two different purposes for me, right? Like running brings me a lot of peace and calm.
Yes.
Right. And lifting brings me a lot of confidence. So I feel kind of like testosterone-y, right? You know, when I'm lifting weights, and that, you know, it's a different sense of confidence.
Absolutely.
And then when you're running, you've got all the bullshit out. You spent time with yourself. You've been in your head. And when you get done running and you get in the shower and you're home, you have a different sense of gratitude, even for the shower. When you've just gone 9.5 hours of running, sitting on your couch feels different.
Oh, yeah.
Getting in the shower feels different. The meal tastes different. Everything
100%.
is different because your gratitude for these things that are bringing you ease and comfort increase immensely, because you were just barely on the other side of the coin in extreme pain. You couldn't wait to get home.
Yep. Hit the
And
finish
then
line.
all of a sudden you get home and it's just like, I even said on the 40 miler last year to Luke that, you know, used to work for us. And I said, because we use my house as like a checkpoint.
Aid station. Yeah.
Yeah. Aid station. Right. And so we did like 13, 6.5 out, 6.5 back. So it was 13 miles. And then 7 out, 7 back. Right. And so I told him, I said, wait till you see my house. On mile 40, bro.
Yeah.
It looks different. And so we go up on mile 40. We're coming around the corner to see my street. And I said, look at that, dude. It looks completely different. It feels, before your house, dude, people get off of work, they just pull up their house. They don't even think about it. And so it's like, that gratitude brings me a sense of calmness and a sense of peace. And so I like doing both for two totally different reasons.
That's cool.
You know, I let the pump do the talking at the gym and jabber, but then I'm also out with myself for an hour and 45 minutes in pure silence, just in my head, focusing on my breathing, my cadence, thoughts, you know, just being with me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think humans get to spend, like, literally disconnected, and I know you do this too, literally no headphones, no music, no books. It's you alone with you, right?
And me doing that now, I used to run in the mornings a lot. Before anybody wakes up, like that was when I would be able to get out and do it. And when that time increased, being an HVAC, we want to be on the job as the sun comes up, and then we want to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
It's too damn hot.
Yeah.
So I started running in the afternoon in the summer, which was kind of crazy. But I mean, some of the attics were in 160 degrees. Nonetheless, what I've found now is that I do my run after I get home from work now, whether that be at 1 or 4 or 5, whatever it is. But I'm more present for my family because I'm going out right after work, and as men do, compartmentalizing all those work things in my head, organizing them all out, and then being able to be completely present at home when I get home. Like, okay, what does the family need now? Work's done, work's filed, it's in the filing cabinet, it's closed, now let's do this.
Yeah.
And so
Creating
that's really
separation between, okay, I just got done with a tough day, and I'm going to walk in the door and all of a sudden be present. No, there's a lot going on
100%.
And you're kind of riled up a little bit, or, you know, there's things going on. So you remove yourself and create that gap between work and the family by spending time with yourself, getting it figured out, being alone in your mind, exhausting your body to where the frustrations can't live in there anymore. You just got it out. The stress can't live there anymore. You just got it out. So when you walk in the door, which creates another sense of, like I said, gratitude, calmness, peace.
Well, in the running in the morning, I mean, Huberman and everybody talks about it, that dopamine hit, that it's really beneficial for your whole day to do that in the morning, or to do something hard, whether it be cold plunge, whatever. And I found that being selfish because I can still do those things. I'm usually out of the door before my wife and kids up. Like, it's, and so awesome. I was feeling good before I went to work. But then when I would get home from work, there wasn't that separation. And so I was an asshole. If it was a bad day, don't even approach me, because there's going to be, you see this fire, it's going to explode. Like, it got to the point where it's like, okay, how do I adjust this? How do I move this around? And it's the whole balance work-life thing. That's not possible. But how do you make the best of your time?
Yeah.
For me, time blocking, making that this happens at this time. And this is why. It's not just, it happens during this time. It's like, I do it because it benefits me the rest of the hours.
Because it creates a desired outcome that I want for me. And when I have that, then I'm giving more in the areas that are of importance to me, right? My family's a priority, so I need to take care of myself so that when I show up there, that I'm an individual that they actually want to be around.
I can't come in
versus
head
snappy
every single day.
Yeah.
How do we change that?
You can, but
it doesn't last very long.
Yeah. You might come home to some packed bags.
You better go to the garage. You don't even come in here.
Build your man cave.
No, it's true. But it's the adjustments, the finding those things.
Tweaking.
It's the entrepreneurial world, though. But I mean, it's life in general. But as you guys talk about a lot, there are so many of those things in the entrepreneurial world that get thrown at you that the home life doesn't pay attention to, that those business owners don't really understand. The book I'm reading right now, Mark Manson's Subtle Art, he talks about that people that are extremely good at business are not always, and usually are not extremely good at home life. In order to be extremely good at something, there's other things that you're not extremely good at. Extraordinary is extraordinary for a reason. If everybody was at it, wouldn't be extraordinary.
Yeah, and just be ordinary.
And so that's the book I'm reading now, but the little nuggets you take from those books to kind of, like I said, work those times around to benefit more than just you. Don't be selfish to make sure you're doing better, but where can you be better to serve the family, to be in a better retrospect? Because it was a battle. Every day I got home, I went and bettered myself in the morning, and I went to work, blah, 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 did my reading. But after 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, when I'd get home, it was a shit show. And it wasn't because of her and him. Yeah. It was because of my temperament, my not being able to get everything filed, put it all away. And I mean, as business owners, you got to be able to do that. Yeah. You got to be able to turn it off for the family. It doesn't, and I guess not off, you've got to be able to turn it down. Yeah. So. Yeah, I like that. You still think about it. I like that. You're still thinking about, I still got paperwork to do. Payroll. But it's, okay, turn it down and turn this one up. The volume. Yeah, it's not screaming at you as much. Right. Yeah. So, dude, I enjoyed today. I love it. I enjoyed it today. I always come into the office anyways. I enjoy the group of you guys. Yeah, I enjoyed. Dude, that was a fun, I don't know how long it was, but it was fun. I don't either. Time just flew by. And I don't know if you were nervous about it or not, but that was a fun podcast. I appreciate it. That was a really fun podcast. I enjoy talking with you anyways. Yeah, likewise. Cameras or not. Likewise, yeah. We can talk. We can talk about business. We can talk about, plenty of time to chat on 50 miles in July. So, but a lot of people come on and try to tell their story. I like that you preface this with me on hey, what can we do different? Not what can we do differently, share your business outcome. Cause dude, I love Maddie, the one that just came out with me. Yeah, Daddy B. Yeah. So I live local, obviously. Yeah. And so does Maddie. Me and my son, he's 3. We were in CarQuest picking up some parts for him. I think it was for my bug that we're working on right now. And he was in there with his son, and he looks like my uncle a little bit. And so my son's like, hey, it's Uncle Don. And Matt looks over, and he doesn't know who I am, and I don't know. I know who he is because of the podcast and whatnot. Yeah. And I just kind of grinned at it, and Maddie looks at my son. He goes, "Oh, your Uncle Don must be a handsome guy." I was like, "Well, he is." So that's a compliment. And he just kind of smiled at me, and I was like, "You have a very inspirational story, man." And he just looked at me. He's like, "How do you know me?" And I let him know, through the podcast. I know Trevor Cowley. Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "Well, that's so cool." But then my son and him, he's 3. He doesn't carry on conversations. But him and Matt full on, what are you doing today? Oh, gas cans and Sprite. And it's just dude, that dude is so cool that it's just, I love it. But the stories that he tells on these podcasts, and the mindset change of people, he's so inspiring. you said it to him about running because of him, like not because of him, but he was an inspiration behind your running.
Yeah.
Dude, his first podcast with you guys, it was the same thing. It made me go run that day. And it was more that I hear that periodically when I don't want to. It's like,
I get to.
look at Matt. Like,
Yeah.
like he can't go do that.
Yeah.
And then I see him out at the lake surfing and that, and it's just like,
Yeah. Damn. He's more active than me. I swim 10 miles a day and he's more active than I am. Skiing, dude, snow, like you name it, bro. He's out getting it.
There's no excuse.
Yeah.
Guys like that show that there's no
He's
excuse.
at the gym,
And he's got that real story that it's like, I was the best there ever was, and then I got humbled.
Yeah.
And dude, so I appreciate you guys' podcast because like Matt, there's a few that are just like, damn, Brent had an awesome story. I love Mr. Knott, dude. That guy's running story and just his story on the podcast. So
yeah,
I have to share my gratitude because the stories you guys get on here, those life stories are pivotal, bro.
Dude, I'm telling you, this was a super valuable podcast. I've been on 200 and
that's up there
60 or whatever. I don't even know where we're at right now, but I know for a fact that there's a ton of nuggets
for that
every entrepreneur, and then there's nuggets also that will serve them in their life. So it's just cool that you listened to the podcast all those years, you got value out of it, people inspired you, and now here you are in the chair doing the exact same thing for other people because you took that information and ran with it.
Yeah,
literally.
It's true.
Metaphorically.
And the biggest takeaway is you don't compare yourself to other people.
Yeah, just like get yours.
Like those nuggets that you hear about in their stories, compare yourself to yourself. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Like if you're better tomorrow than you were yesterday, who cares what over there Joe Schmo did? Like he doesn't matter to your life in the long run. And so that's what I've taken from them is it's like, and a lot of them have stated that just work on yourself to be better because in doing that, you said it with Maddie, it ripples.
Yeah, there's a ripple effect.
So,
yeah.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate that too.
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody wants to hit you up, how would they find you?
Andrew and Sterling on Instagram. I'm on Facebook a little bit, just under Andrew Robinson. The website will be my AMR HVAC website is being worked on right now, but it should be back up by the 1st of March-ish. And just email Andrew AMR HVAC or andrew.robinsonmac@gmail. A bunch of different ways.
Yeah, send him a fucking carrier pigeon,
I'm not
smoke
private.
signals.
Like I'm not a private Instagram user. I'm public. Come follow me.
Yeah,
go run.
Go hit him up. He'll show you pictures of his Garmin.
That's right.
Every so often. Yeah,
and those runs, dude. You got to see those skies.
Yeah, exactly. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you're rating and reviewing the show, sharing it with somebody that you love and care about. Until next week, guys, keep kicking ass.